If this is you sitting there, staring at your phone again, wondering why she hasn't called, why she doesn't text like she used to, maybe this feels familiar. You've been there, showing up, giving, caring, doing everything you think a man should do, and yet it feels like she's slipping further away. The effort you thought mattered, the little things you thought would make her stay, they didn't. And now, somewhere deep inside, you're starting to realize maybe your presence alone isn't enough. You replay every conversation in your head, analyzing every word, every pause, every emoji. You wonder if you said too much, too little, if you're chasing too hard, or if you've already lost her without even knowing it. There's this ache in your chest, that gnawing frustration of giving everything, yet getting what? Silence, indifference, mixed signals. You keep asking yourself, why doesn't she see me the way I see her? Why can't she feel what I feel? And then there's the emptiness, the quiet moments when she's not around, and you're left with nothing but your own thoughts. You feel powerless, trapped in a cycle where your presence doesn't create the connection you crave. The more you try to hold on, the more you notice she's as elsewhere, not necessarily with someone else, but somewhere beyond your reach. Somewhere you can't touch, no matter how close you think you are. Maybe what's hardest of all is the doubt, the self-questioning that creeps in. Am I not enough? Did I do something wrong? Or is it something I can't control? What if the very thing you think is making you invisible, the space, the distance, the absence, is exactly what she needs to finally notice what she's been taking for granted all along? What if stepping back, disappearing even for a moment, could teach her something your presence never could? Most men get this wrong because they confuse presence with value. They think showing up, constantly texting, always being available, is proof of love or proof of worth. They believe that if they just try harder, give more, stay closer, she'll finally see them. And yet, what happens more often than not? She drifts. She loses interest. The harder you chase, the more you feed her comfort, but not desire. Here's the truth: women respond to presence differently than men think. They crave a man who has his own gravity, who doesn't bend to meet every expectation, who moves through life with purpose and confidence. Your constant presence creates familiarity, and familiarity breeds invisibility. It's not about you being unworthy. It's about the energy you're sending. Energy that is attached, dependent, and reactive rarely sparks respect or longing. The masculine principle most men overlook is this: distance creates value. Space isn't absence in the sense of neglect. It's absence in the sense of self-possession. When you withdraw with calm certainty, you stop being a man she can take for granted. You stop being a man she can predict. And paradoxically, that's when she starts noticing you in ways she never did when you were always there. Another principle is boss emotional sovereignty. Most men let their worth be dictated by her attention, by her mood, by her responses. The truly magnetic man measures himself by his own standard, not hers. When you step back from the chase, when you allow yourself to exist fully without her constant validation, you reclaim your power. You become a presence that can't be ignored, not because you demand it, but because you carry a life and a confidence she can feel but cannot control. This isn't manipulation. It's mastery. And it's the exact thing your presence never could teach her. He sits in the corner of the cafe, hands wrapped around a warm cup of coffee, watching her laugh across the room. Not at him, not with him. Just her, in the way she used to light up when he was around. He feels the familiar pull in his chest, a mix of longing and frustration, and for a moment he wonders if he should get up, walk over, just be there again. But something stops him. The clink of cutlery, the hum of conversation, even the soft jazz playing in the background feels distant, almost muffled. He notices how she brushes her hair behind her ear, the small smile that flickers when someone tells a joke. And he realizes how much he's been missing, not because she isn't present when he's around, but because presence without space has blinded him to the weight of absence. He recalls the nights he stayed up too late, sending messages that went unanswered, leaning in when she leaned away, trying to fill the gaps with effort, attention, Proof. And now silence. The silence isn't empty. It hums, it speaks, it teaches. He sips his coffee slowly, feeling the warmth spread through his hands, grounding him. In that quiet, he notices the subtle tension in his shoulders ease. He realizes something profound. It's not him who has changed. It's the energy he carries now. Calm, steady, unattached. And somewhere across the room, she notices it too. Not with words, not yet, but with a pull she can't explain, a curiosity she can't ignore. For the first time in a long while, he doesn't reach for her. He lets the moment stretch, lets the silence hold its weight. And in that absence, he sees the truth sometimes. Stepping back is the only way to be truly seen, because what your presence couldn't teach her, your absence will. Most men believe that showing up constantly proves love. They think if they just call more, text more, care more, she'll finally notice them. Here's the truth. A's presence without boundaries is invisible. Being there all the time doesn't create desire. It creates comfort. She doesn't respect what she can always have. Another false belief is that distance equals rejection. Men fear that stepping back will push her away. The real truth is the opposite. A's absence creates perspective. When you stop chasing, you stop feeding her comfort. You give her space to feel your value, to notice what she's been taking for granted. And the hardest one to accept, that your worth is measured by her attention. Most men tie their value to her mood, her responses, her presence, but a high-value man measures himself by his own standards, not hers. She didn't ghost you. You disappeared from yourself. When you truly grasp this, everything shifts. Your calm detachment isn't cruelty, it's confidence. Your absence isn't punishment, it's revelation. It teaches her what your presence never could, that you are a man who cannot be owned, controlled, or taken for granted. Step back and she'll finally step up. Your absence is louder than your presence ever was. This isn't about playing games. It's about being emotionally sovereign, living fully, and letting her finally recognize the man she's been overlooking. Because for the first time, she can't take you for granted. Once you let go of these false beliefs, you stop chasing, you stop bending, and suddenly you're not just seen, you're remembered. This is what the 1% headman understands. His value isn't proven by constant attention, constant chasing, or constant reassurance. He knows that presence isn't about proximity. It's about energy, purpose, and self-possession. While most men are busy bending themselves into availability, he moves through life with calm certainty, letting his worth exist independently of her reactions. This is how he leads with presence, not pressure. He doesn't measure his success by whether she calls back, texts first, or shows interest on demand. His confidence isn't fragile. It's rooted in his own mission, his own life, his own standards. He shows up when it matters, but he never overextends, because he understands that too much presence without gravity becomes invisible. He sees absence not as a withdrawal, but as a teacher. He knows that stepping back gives her perspective, gives her curiosity, and gives him clarity. He doesn't disappear to punish. He disappears to elevate. In that space, she begins to notice what she's been taking for granted. The man who lives with purpose, the man who doesn't bend to her every mood, the man whose energy can't be manufactured or forced. The 1% headman never fears silence. He doesn't fill it with texts, calls, or attempts at validation. He embraces it because he understands that silence carries weight. It communicates more than presence ever could. Strength, independence, and the truth that his life is full whether she's participating in it or not. This is the mindset that transforms how she sees him and how he sees himself. He doesn't chase, he commands, he doesn't beg, he inspires. And in this calm, grounded authority, he becomes impossible to overlook. He knows what your presence couldn't teach her, your absence will. He's sitting alone in his apartment, the city lights bleeding through the blinds, casting lines across the floor like silent reminders of time passing. His phone lies face down on the table, untouched for hours, and for the first time in a long time, he doesn't feel panic rising in his chest. The quiet stretches around him, not empty, but full of the life he's been neglecting while waiting for her attention. And then it hits him. Not like a thought, but like a wave, sudden and undeniable. So he doesn't need her to validate him. All this time, he's been measuring his worth by her interest, her moods, her presence. But in this stillness, he feels something he hasn't felt in months. A calm, solid certainty in himself, the version of him that existed without approval, without chasing, without bending. He remembers that man. A smile creeps onto his face, quiet, almost ashamed of how long it took. He recalls the mornings he trained, the nights he created, the moments he felt alive for himself alone. And now, sitting in the stillness of his own presence, he finally understands. He is enough, whether she notices it or not. In that moment, waiting turns into remembering. Desire for validation fades into recognition of value, and he realizes something powerful. Stepping back doesn't make him less, it makes him unstoppable. You spent so long bending, chasing, hoping she would see you, the man you are, the effort you give, the heart you carry. But the truth you're learning now is heavier, sharper, and more freeing than any text, any call, any presence ever could teach her. In the quiet of your absence, she begins to feel the weight of what she's taken for granted. She notices the man who doesn't bend, who doesn't chase, who lives fully on his own terms. And in that realization, you feel it too. What your presence couldn't teach her, your absence will.